Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Amphibia Season 2, Episodes 7 and 8. So last episode was a big episode. We finally got to Newtopia, and we finally met Marcy. Marcy is a smart girl, but is also possibly neurodivergent. At the very least, she's not great with keeping herself together. She's very clumsy, very spacey, kind of loses track of everything around her, gets so hyper-focused on things. At the same time, she is very clearly observant of things around her, able to know how to utilize her intellect to help herself and others. She's a really interesting character who has a lot of depth to her, and she's very nice and friendly, and we clearly see her friendship with Anne and everything. And Newtopia, meanwhile, is kind of like the big city of Amphibia. Yeah, it's just called Amphibia. I don't know why I blanked there and how I was having trouble thinking of it. It's just Amphibia. It's like the big city, but it's also the royal city. It's like, you think of like all of these different pieces of media that have like kingdoms in it, and you think of like the city right next to the castle, the kinds of like Hyrule cities and all, like going for Legend of Zelda as an example, Castle Town and everything. It's like the main city right off of the castle that surrounds it and everything. That's kind of what this is. And we can see it's a very high to do, very fancy place. And definitely want to see more of this, which we're obviously going to be. But we also get a light introduction to the king of Amphibia, who is apparently voiced by Keith David, which is really cool. Keith David's a great voice actor, great actor in general. Like, he's in what is one of the best horror movies of all time, The Thing. But he's also very much known for his voice acting as well. I mean, he's voiced Spawn. He has voiced Goliath in Gargoyles, and so much else. Like, the dude's actually pretty well known for voice acting just as much as he is for live action acting. So it's a really big get for Amphibia to have him in there. I don't know how big of a character the king is going to be, like how important he's going to be to the overall story and everything, but that's still a huge acquisition for the series. So that's exciting. But yeah, I definitely am interested to see where this goes now, with Newtopia, with Marcy, with the king, who seems to be planning things out and clearly knew about Anne because of that chess piece he had, that figure, that wooden figure, whatever. And I'm just wondering, like, what's going to happen from here? Because last episode was only episode 6, yet it felt like a halfway point, you know what I mean? So I guess we're going to have to see. Because we've already gotten some stuff with Sasha and Grime again. Now we've gotten Marcy. We've gotten set up with the king. And it's like, it's only 6 episodes out of 20 in. So it's like, what the hell's going to happen next? I still feel like a lot of this is still going to be episodic, but I don't know. I don't know. We might be going into the territory of more actual plot related stuff. We'll have to see. I don't know what to expect, but like I said, we are going to be doing both episodes 7 and 8 today. So 4 segments in total. I'm going to try to get all of my thoughts out, at least for the majority, in the reaction itself, just so the afterthoughts can go by quicker. I'll still talk about each segment in the afterthoughts, but I'm going to try to get mostly everything touched on within the reaction, just so, again, I can get through the afterthoughts without too much time, you know? So, that being said, we're just going to get into it and hope for the best. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So another good couple of episodes. We're gonna take this on segment by segment, because even though I said I was gonna try to keep this short in the afterthoughts, and I'm gonna try to keep it as short as I can. I have some things to talk about. So, first, our first segment of 7. Episode 7 was Scavenger Hunt. So this one is kind of a continuation off of last one. They're still hanging out with Marcy, and apparently the king sends Marcy these puzzles to solve to get some messages out. So there's these 3 symbols on the puzzle they have to find and decipher to get each word of the code of the message. As they're going through solving them, Anne starts to feel jealous of Marcy's intelligence and starts to feel inadequate comparatively. During the entire time, though, she ends up helping others and making connections with them because of it. And throughout this episode, we get to see the entire message is obviously, it's like, you don't have to try and be like your friend. Your friend is very smart, makes you feel inadequate about, or not necessarily she makes you feel inadequate about that, but if you feel inadequate about that, don't just try to be like her. Don't try to be smart like her. Don't try to copy her, or even don't worry about getting jealous about her. You have your own strengths that guide you. And with Anne, it's definitely her kindness and ability to connect with others. And like I mentioned, it's just like with Sasha and her physical and strength of will. All of them have their own strengths and weaknesses, and that's just how people are. So there's not really a use of getting jealous over someone for their strengths when you have your own, and different people work different ways. And now, I'm not saying that you aren't going to get jealous, and it happens. I get jealous of people all the time. I just have to keep reminding myself when I do that it's okay, that I'm not going to be like them. That I have to figure out what I'm good at and stuff. You get the gist. And at the very end, we find out the full message is, bring me the planters. And it's from the king, so the king has apparently summoned them, but a couple things. One, that doesn't sound like a summon. That sounds like a really concerning command. 2, how does he know who the planters are? I mean, we saw that he knows who Anne is, but it's like, this is a question they should be asking. How does the king know who they are? Marcy never made that introduction. Why aren't they asking about this? Why are they just ignoring the fact that the king somehow knows them? This random farming family from across the entire land. How would he know them? They're not questioning this at all. It's just like, my God, this is not going to go well. But then we have 7B, and that's the planters check-in. This we get to meet King Andreas, and he seems like a goofball and everything, who's been taught human culture and stuff by Marcy and all, but I don't trust him at all. After the ending of episode 6, it's like there's no reason to trust him and no reason to believe that this is actually how he is. This is clearly him putting on an act for the sake of others, and in reality, he's probably pretty ruthless and maybe even horrifying. Either way, I don't trust him at all, and I think he's the bad guy. That the ending of episode 6 gave me those vibes very strongly, and this just seems super forced. This personality he has. But he claims to want to help Anne and Marcy return home, and while he's doing some research with Marcy, he gives Anne and the planters basically this royal credit card that it's like, oh, you could basically do whatever the fuck you want with this, just take it. While everyone else decides to rest before they get into shenanigans, Sprig is not able to. He's just Sprig. So he steals the credit card and goes off to have fun in the hotel, where he ends up meeting this bellhop named Bella, who is voiced by Christian Shaw, and is just the sweetest thing. Like, I don't know what other people think of her character, but she is just pretty much instantaneously excessively likable, and like really sympathetic. Like, you feel really fucking bad for her situation, clearly not getting paid a lot, having to eat ice sandwiches, and not really being treated well, it seems, either. So when she tries to steal Sprig's card, with, again, not actually Sprig's card, but my first thought was literally going through my head, it's like, let her have it. Like, seriously, just give it to her. Either that or treat her to shit. Get her some good food. Maybe some clothes or whatever she's into. Treat her. She likes the Ferris wheel, right? Take her on the Ferris wheel. Well, and it does end up happening. They do go on the Ferris wheel and she apologizes. And luckily, Sprig helps her out by getting her a raise and everything. But yeah, it's just the entire episode, I'm just like looking at her like, please help this girl. Like, she's an absolute gem and deserves the world. And it's like, my God, I'm liking this character more than most characters in this show already, and I've seen her for like half of an episode. I've talked about this before. I grow attached to fictional characters very easily. I personally think it's part of my autism, but I don't know for sure. I can't say with a true level of certainty on that. But I grow very attached to some fictional characters, like, extremely easily. I made a video on why Amity from the Owl House is my comfort character. I've talked many times on this channel about how Pinkie Pie from MLP helped literally save my life from depression and suicide. It's like there are those certain characters that I just either connect to or just really like in terms of personality and writing and voice acting, or whatever else. There's just some characters out there for various shows that I just connect so hard to, that just click so perfectly for me, that I have just this instantaneous, insane level of love for. And I mentioned the likes of Pinkie Pie or Amity, though Amity admittedly took a little bit to grow on me, which is literally what they were going for. So, um, but you could look at a lot of shows. You could look at Aizukin. Speaking of what's on my shirt right here, you could look at right here, Asakusa. Um, Instantly, pretty much in the first episode, it's just like, I love you. It's just like, you're amazing. I adore your character. And the same goes for another character in the series, Parker Domeki, who's unfortunately not shown on the shirt, despite her also being part of the club. But you could look at a lot of things. You could look at Yamato from One Piece, Tuesday Simmons from Carol and Tuesday, and so many other things. Susie from Deltarune, even talking about video games, yeah. It's just, there are those certain characters that I just click so hard with that it's kind of surprising sometimes. And it's really fucking wild when a random supporting or side character, even if they're just like a one episode character, happens to be one of those characters that I click with. Because it's like, this character may never return, but I'm so invested in them that I want everything with them. And right now, that's Bella for me. It's just like, just instantly, just, I'm here for her. And it's like, she's not the first character in this series that has happened with, mind you. Obviously, Sasha and Yunnan are examples of that as well. But Bella is just like instant love. Like, I want to see all the fan art. I want to just, I want her to show up again. I definitely don't want this to be her only appearance. I just want more Bella. And Kristen Shaw's performance does probably lend to that a bit too. She plays the character a lot more low energy, but also a lot more likable and just generally sympathetic than like a character like Mabel or other characters that Kristen Shaw has voiced. It's definitely a different type of performance that I'm used to with her, but in a very good way. And not to say anything against her other performances, like with Mabel and all, from Gravity Falls, but it's just, it was a really damn good held back performance from her. And I really think that she nailed it. And that's part of why I loved it so much. But then we get into episode 8, and I will say, kind of right off the bat, I was not as big a fan of episode 8 as I was with 7. 7 was without question more entertaining, more interesting, and had, in my opinion, a lot more going for it. Episode 8 feels more like just a random episodic thing. So 8A was Lost in Utopia. Anne and Polly are bored of this this tour bus tour of the city that Hop Pop brought them on. So they decide to go out into the city after tricking Hop Pop by making him think they're going home. So they go out into the city and start to just explore. And the best part about this episode is the Tails store. And as I mentioned in the reaction, I had seen that clip before in regards to Sonic the Hedgehog 2. When that movie was first coming out and everything, I had seen that everywhere because everyone was so excited for Tails. Miles Prower in the movie. His introduction at the end of the first Sonic movie was like huge, and so everyone was super excited for him, even more than Knuckles in a lot of cases with Sonic 2. And so everywhere online, especially on Twitter, I had seen, after the movie came out, I had seen people posting that. Just in excitement over Tails and his character and his role in the second movie. And it's like, I obviously didn't have any context behind it, but I had seen the clip, and I'd seen them basically just the part with them walking into the store chanting Tails, and the salesman starts chanting with them. It's basically just that. Um, Seeing it out of context is fucking hilarious. It is one of the funniest things in this entire series. I'm not even kidding. Seeing it in context is just as funny, honestly, because it almost still kind of comes out of nowhere. It's just so random. It's hilarious. Like it's not even really a joke, but it's something about the presentation of them chanting Tails, and just chanting into the store, the way they walk into the store, seeing the guy at the counter just looking at them like confused for a second, but then starts chanting as well. It's fucking hilarious. And then the Tails they go for, Anne's is so freakishly oversized. I think it's bigger than her body. And then you have Polly's, which is just like, why is that in there? That is so extra. It's just this metal spiked tail with a rose on it. It's like, it's so needlessly extra. But I also love it. I love that joke. And I also love the joke about the spicy street food too. I adore spicy food, and the spicier, the more painful it is, the better. I actually really enjoy getting burned by spicy food. Like I enjoy it when it actively is a lot to handle. I don't know why. I can't explain it to you, but it's fun. I have a blast with it. I don't know if just the heat and the pain of all, and everything just kind of like activates the pleasure centers of my brain or something. But for some reason, it just makes me really, really happy to eat spicy food. Um, and I've eaten whole ghost peppers multiple times. A lot of people would learn from the first time and not eat anymore, but I've eaten ghost peppers whole multiple times because I enjoy it. And yeah, obviously it's very spicy. Obviously it's a lot to handle. Obviously it kind of freaks you out when you're doing it, and I'm like begging for milk and shit and all that. But again, at the same time, it's good. It's a good kind of pain, because it's like, even though it's like, yeah, you're in pain and you're really looking for something to soothe that pain and all, but it's still that rush of adrenaline and excitement and fun. I just love it so much. So that joke also just really got a kick out of me. The fact that both of them clearly enjoyed it, but also it was clearly a lot. Also, sticking your head in water, it's not going to do anything. You could swallow a gallon of water. It's not going to do anything. Water won't do shit to resolve heat. You need either milk, something with milk, a lot of milk in it, like ice cream or something. Bread and potatoes work extremely well too. Stuff like that, basically. Anything that's like pretty starchy, or stuff like that really helps. Bread is actually really, really helpful, like surprisingly so. Obviously, milk is kind of a go-to because the coldness, especially if it's like just really cold milk, or even with ice cream, especially, that also helps soothe things. But bread and potatoes work really well too, so those are perfectly valid options there. But outside of those couple moments in the episode, the general plot of everything, and the fact that by the end it's like, oh, they're messing everything up and being chased by an angry mob of people they've offended or stolen from or whatever else. It's like, it's just kind of okay. It's not bad by any means. It's just, I feel like the moments in the episode outweighed the actual rest of the episode. And it's a little disappointing. Again, not bad by any means, but not great either. And then 7 or 8B, is Sprig gets schooled, and this was the weakest segment of this reaction. Uh, they end up, the family, the planners and Anne, end up coming across Newtopia University, this big, high, fancy college in Newtopia. I guess you could equate it to like Harvard or something. um, and Sprig ends up impressing one of the professors there. So much so that he's being allowed to be given a early trial of sorts that the school does for young scholars, you could say, to be able to see if they're good for the school to come at a later date. And so he lets Sprig in, and at first this seems like Sprig is a good fit because he impresses everyone, but once he starts going to the classes, you see, oh no, he's a distraction, he's disruptive as hell, he's not a good student, and he has no idea what he's doing. During all of this, Anne and Polly are planning to sneak in because they want a party, and they think college is all about parties because of Anne's movies. So that's happening. But yeah, Sprig is just not doing well at all, but the professor seems to think it's like, oh, well, we have something we can work on then. We're not going to wait till next semester. We're bringing you in right now. And so it's like Sprig is kind of like pulled into this school, and he doesn't want to anymore. He finds it boring. He's not having fun with it at all. He thinks it's just not for him at this moment in his life, which is completely fair. And so he wants to leave, but when night hits, the school is locked down, and he takes this to mean as he's a prisoner. So we see him trying to escape while Anne and Polly are also breaking in at the same time to get to the party, and everything just kind of comes to a head when everyone's confronted at once by the security team and everything, and it's revealed as like, oh no, you're not a prisoner, you could leave at any time. We just have all this security for the sake of the students because this city is a cesspool, which we saw before. Apparently this city's not that great. There's a lot of dark edges to it, it seems. It's not like some of the city is very nice and everything, but other parts of it is it has this underbelly to it. Which I guess you could say about a lot of cities in real life. But yeah, and even in a lot of media too. So yeah, there was nothing actually wrong with the school. It wasn't a prison or anything. But Sprig comes to the conclusion that he's not at a point in his life where this kind of thing is for him. And he says, maybe in the future, I don't know. And the professor's like, yeah, okay, I get you. The offer's always open. If you ever want to come back, just feel free. And it's like, this is nice. This is just a nice ending, okay. Also, I wish college was like just that accessible in real life and probably free. There was never talk of any tuition. Like, Jesus, the tuition here in America is fucked up. But yeah, it was just the weakest episode, not out of anything that it necessarily did wrong. It just wasn't that interesting. And maybe because I've seen a lot of media do the entire college thing or some variation of like a character discovering that something they thought would be cool isn't for them. Stuff like that. It's just, I don't know, it's just not as interesting to me as other episodes have been, or other segments in general. So episode 8 in total was just the weaker of these two episodes, while episode 7 was really interesting, actually. I don't trust King Andreas as far as I can throw him, but I definitely liked the episode nonetheless, with his introduction and everything. Plus, again, it also had Bella in it, and that's enough of a reason to love the episode as it is. Uh, seriously, I don't fully understand it, but for some reason, I just adore the shit out of her. I want to hug her and comfort her and give her things. I don't know why, but I just have that kind of. I just feel that way about her character. She's just one of those characters that I just instantly click with and instantly love. It happens. But yeah, yeah. So I definitely think King Andreas is a bad guy. I definitely don't trust him. That's the big takeaway from this. Marcy, I think, is being tricked as well. She definitely seems like she trusts King Andreas, and I don't think that she's in on whatever's going on. He definitely 100% knew about that secret passage in the library. I am not falling for this shit for a second. I don't know what's going to happen. I only know a few things from the future of this, and only because it's like I've seen like still shots and stuff on Twitter here and there, and maybe a couple things talked about by people, but I don't know everything, and it's like I don't know exactly where this is going to go or when this sudden but inevitable betrayal is going to happen, but it's damn well gonna. I am braced for it. Tell me in the comments below, though, without spoilers. Please do not spoil me on this. Please tell me in the comments below what you thought of these 2 episodes, 4 segments of Amphibia Season 2. And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.